Hello, Gareth here, and here is our final fir tree scene, and I think I've saved the best one to last. So let's begin with this beautiful scene. The first thing we're going to paint is this distant mountain and its reflection in the river. Well, could be a lake. So here's my mix, already done really. Oh, that's too strong though. Add some water. Use the other mixing area. Okay, really I should have some scrap paper and test out what this looks like. That's too strong, so add some more water. But hurry, because it's drying out all the time. Still too strong? Oh, we're having fun here, aren't we? Okay, that will do. So you saw how I just added more and more water until I got the mix. I got the tone I wanted. Okay, so first we do this, all the same tone. And now we're going to wash out the brush completely, dry it, and then here this will be the horizon. We're going to work up fairly quickly and we're going to blend that in, and now we've created a misty bottom to the mountain. And now we're going to do the reflection, which means plenty of water. Get rid of any paint. And we're just going to wet this bottom area. You might want to put a pencil mark here and here to indicate your horizon. In fact, I'll do that because sometimes these very simple things are super important. There we go. So we have to let this dry a little. And if this part goes wrong, the reflection part, don't worry, because the most difficult thing in watercolor painting, or one of them, is how long to wait before you paint wet into wet. So it's one of the most difficult things. Okay, my mix here is too wet. So some tissue. That will do. And then that's too strong. We're getting there. Okay, this will be drying very quickly. Here we go. Yeah. So it is very difficult to gauge this. If it's too wet, it will blur, it will spread too much. And if it's too dry, you will get a hard edge like just there. But it doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm cleaning my brush completely and drying it. And then I'm going to do this blending here. Quick, get there. Yeah, there we go. And I think that's worked pretty well. Maybe because this is quite good paper I'm using. If you're using super cheap watercolor paper, I'm not sure if it will be so easy. That worked out quite well. Okay, now let's leave that to dry. Okay, now we're going to paint some fir trees here. So let me get my hake brush. Now the tone needs to be stronger here. I still haven't got my scrap paper, I keep forgetting, but we can test it out on the paper. So I want it fairly watery, but not too watery, so that I lose control. Here we go. So I'm going to use the tip of the brush like this, and I'm going to go across here. It's probably helpful if I do a line for myself using that horizon, and it's going to be slightly below the horizon, so about here. Okay, then I get my brush and I'm just going to go up and down like that. Try to make it look irregular, and this bit here you might want to use the corner of the brush. There we go, that's good enough. And then we're going to continue down and do the reflection of this. So I'm just wetting this a bit because it's drying very quickly. And so here we go. I'm just doing a reflection of this. Now don't get too worried about doing perfect reflection, because you'll be painting too slowly and it's not going to be perfect. Just as long as it looks pretty similar. And there we go. Then quickly wash out your brush, dry it. I'll even get some toilet roll. Have to work quickly here. There we go, wipe that, and then we're going to go across here just below the shoreline like that, and you have to do this several times. And you might want to rinse your brush again, that's what I'm doing, dry again, and then really dry it into a thin edge and do again. And there we go. That creates like a sort of shimmery effect on the water, and it makes it look more like a reflection. Now possibly here the tone should have been a little bit stronger, and in the reflection too, but it's good enough. We passed. Okay, so now let's leave that to dry, and then we're going to come over here and paint this fir tree in the foreground. Okay, this hasn't dried 100%, but I realized, clever me, that because this fir tree over here isn't touching this at all, it's pretty safe to paint it. So let's go ahead and paint it. Now the tone for this one has to be the strongest tone of all because it's in the foreground. And the mistake that is very easy to make is to paint the fir tree too big, or well, yeah, I don't think we ever paint them too small. So the first thing to decide is where the top of the tree will be. It's roughly its position here, like horizontally across. We're going to have it about here, and then its height, it's going to be about here, and it's going to come down to about here. It has to be below this line, otherwise the perspective will be wrong. It's a basic point, but if you get it wrong, then your painting's kaput, no good. So have to get these basic things right, and then the details tend to take care of themselves. So I'm just making this mix a bit thicker because I don't want a splodgy mark, because we're going to do a thin trunk line down here to about here, and then we're going to have our rocks here. So here we go. I'm a bit nervous. There we go. And we're off. So ooh, come on, come on, come on. Now I'm being very careful with this top part, because if it's very splodgy, it's not going to look right. But as I come down, these branches can be much thicker and it becomes easier to paint. Okay, so a gradual increasing thickness, and this trunk has dried. Because I was moving too slowly. Yeah, but it's not too bad. And just having a look at my photograph there to see if it looks similar. Doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, that's good. And we can remove this trunk by just painting over it. There we go. And then let's paint the rocks. Okay, here we go. This has to be a strong mix as well. And maybe we want a bit of this trunk showing here. That would look nice. And it's below this. That's good. Okay. Maybe the tone needed to be darker there. Okay. So here we go with the rocks. Bit too strong, make it lighter. And with these rock shapes, you want to try and be simple. You want to make it as simple as possible. And then it's more difficult to make a mistake. There we go, that's good enough. And as with this, we're going to have a hard, I'm just blending them with my finger. We're going to have a hard reflection. But I have to move very quickly now because it's drying super quickly. Have to try and keep up with it. And I've got the reflection of the rocks, but also I've got the reflection of this tree. And there we go. Okay, the alarm on my cell phone suddenly went off. So that wasn't very helpful. But I'm back again, and let's continue. I wish I'd done all of that a bit darker, but there you go. Now I'm going to rinse the brush, come back, dry it, and I'm going to do another sparkle here and one here. There we go. And here. And then I'm going to get my fingernail and start doing some edges. There, it's a bit too dry. I'm a bit too late. But as long as you get the idea. But here, it's okay. And just rinse my brush again. And wipe out. And here too. Yeah. And here, and there we go. That is actually a very nice looking painting. Very simple but very, very beautiful, peaceful looking painting. So please have a go and see what happens. Now, word of warning, with this fingernail technique, it's a lot of fun, but it will take a while to get it right, because if the paint's too wet, then the mark, the fingernail mark, will just disappear. And if it's too dry, you'll get no mark. So it takes a while before you get a feeling for how wet and dry the paint is. So that's another advanced technique. So even though we're doing 101 watercolor, you're already learning very advanced techniques. And this fingernail technique is a lot of fun. So keep at it, because you will get there. And you can see I made all kinds of little mistakes, like, well, I was worried about the tone here, but it turned out all right. Here I thought as well my tone was a bit too weak and I saw too much difference in the tones, but it worked out okay. I didn't quite get the highlight I wanted here, but when you look at the painting overall, it works. And so you have to be like that. No matter what mistakes happen, just carry on, believing it will work out, and sometimes it really will. And people will just not see the mistakes that you know are there. So anyway, that's just a bit of art painting philosophy, if you like. So please have a go, and I hope you enjoy painting this scene. I think I'll just do one more fingernail mark. Here we go. There we go. And maybe one more. Another good point here, be careful not to do too many. There's a tendency with things like certain things, and this is one of them, you can't stop. Using white gouache is another thing that's very difficult to stop, and then we end up adding too much. So just another word of warning there. I think I'll do one final one, and look, you can get rid of the mark by just using your finger like that. And in that way you can almost like sculpt or carve into the rocks shapes. It's a lot of fun and good thing to learn. So there we go. Now we've finished, or now your turn to begin. Thanks for watching. Happy painting.